Welcome to the Blue Dwarf, Keeping Children Safe Online. I am Paula, your host. I am a dedicated cybersecurity professional with a passion for OSINT and digital forensics. This podcast is a safe, supportive space where we share real-world tips to help parents, carers, and teachers protect children in today's digital world. No fear, just practical advice and empowering insights to help you feel more confident navigating online safety. Today's episode contains sensitive content, including cybercrime, web activities, and manipulation tactics targeting children. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Our guest is Tammy Harper, a senior threat intelligence researcher and certified Dark Web Investigator, and one of the core members of Ransomlook team. Tammy works at Flare, where she specializes in monitoring online criminal spaces, infiltrating threat actor communities, and uncovering how digital tools are used to exploit vulnerable, especially children. Tammy, thank you for being with us today. You bring an essential perspective from the front line of digital intelligence. To start, can you tell us a little about yourself and the work you're currently doing in the field of cybercrime and threat intelligence?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on your show. This is a great opportunity. Thank you. I love it. So I specialize in cybercrime and specifically more understanding the psychology between and the business models of ransomware. So what I look at is what makes ransomware so profitable, what makes cybercrime so profitable, and how can we not only attack and disrupt the infrastructure behind these groups, but also try to dismantle the ability to make money off of this model. So right now, as you mentioned, I work at Flare, and part of my duties there and my job is to always look for new emerging threats, the new groups that are coming out, and the new tactics, techniques, and procedures that they're employing.
That's amazing. It's an impressive work. Based on your research, how commonly do you encounter children either being exploited or manipulated into illegal cyber activity, knowingly or unknowingly?
So children is a very interesting demographic that is part of the cybercrime ecosystem. So a lot of them get there's a lot of different ways that this can happen. So for example, like children are very impressionable, children and when I say children, I basically just mean I'm alluding to the fact that like this is like people under the age of 18. And still some people that are really young and that are still part of the cybercrime world, like 25 and under represents a really large portion of cyber criminals. I'm focusing right now on like minors, basically. And so what I'm looking at is there's a lot of angst and there's a lot of impression that happens with this specific age group where they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, they're on Snapchat, and they see other people, other like people in their 20s to 25 or their same age group that are saying like, hey, look how much money I'm making. Look at what I'm able to do, what I can buy. I can get the nice watches, I can get the nice cars, right? And it's really part of this like influencer mindset that we see even on YouTube or Instagram, but it's very much part of the like cybercrime world as well, especially as a front for recruiting. And so they're like, hey, like if you want to make like $10,000, like this is what you need to do. And a lot of it is like getting enrolled in different types of scams or even different types of fraudulent activities. So it really does like start really young. And some of them some of the children that get embroiled in some of these malicious and criminal activities, like don't necessarily know that they're committing crimes, but a lot of the times as well, they are fully aware that they are committing crimes, and they are banking on the fact that they are minors, that they can get away, and that the law will be more lax on them. Like they're cognizant that, hey, like because I'm a minor, I won't get like if I get caught, I won't be like tried as an adult, or I won't like it is something that they actually actively discuss that is part of the like the underground communications of this recruitment process. It's like, hey, you're young, so you can do it now before you can actually get charged for it. So like now's the best time to do it type of thing. So it's really something that is fascinating that this happens, and like there are some of them are aware, some of them are not, and it's really terrifying.
It is terrifying. Do you have an age? How young is young?
So really, I've seen like as soon as people can start like processing like how to like and that desire, that processing the desire of wanting that influencer status or wanting more, that greed, if it's instilled in a child, you start to see like that is when the seeds of this like mentality can start happening. So like I've seen people as young as 13, 12, like get involved in some of these things. And what's really frustrating and really sad for me to see is that a lot of these kids are just brilliant. They're so smart, and they're just using their intellect, their passion for technology and for cybersecurity just for the wrong reasons, right? It's really frustrating to see that.
Wow. Everything that you just described, is this a tactic or manipulation or recruitment or a little bit of both? How everything begins? Does it begin from, I don't know, normal platforms like probably Discord or, as you mentioned, TikTok and everything else, and then goes towards dark web, or somehow these young children they find their way to dark web and everything starts there?
They don't start on the dark web. It all starts on TikTok or Instagram. It starts on the social media platforms, 100%. And because accessing the dark web is you need to learn how to do that. It's not something that you just stumble across. And because like these apps are algorithm based, and they reinforce content that you like, it basically radicalizes them into finding this content and keeps showing them this content. So, a lot of the content that you see, for example, is someone in a car, usually like alluding to them having drugs or just waving around a whole bunch of cash, and basically being part of the boys, right, or the bros, and like essentially saying like this is what we're doing, we have clout, people respect us, right, people are scared of us, and this targets the vulnerable children who might be getting bullied, who the vulnerable children that have a hard time integrating with other friends and peers, and they're basically looking up to these individuals and saying like, hey, like they're not too much older than me, and they're making a bunch of money. People respect them. They got the cars, they got the girls, and like I can do this, right? And it's really, really it's not something that everyone can do, and then they end up getting caught, and then or they end up getting like extorted themselves, right? Because a lot of the time it's not necessarily to recruit these individuals to be on the same level as them, as the criminals, but it's also it's they're recruiting it as victims. So a lot of the times what will happen is that they'll be like, hey, like install this application on on your computer, and you can start hacking for us and start hacking with us. But in reality, what they're doing is that this is like info stealer malware, and then they'll just dump all the credentials off the family computer sometimes, And from there, they basically can get their webcams exploited, or they can get their accounts stolen, like their Steam account or their other social media platforms like, stolen. And then they lose access to that stuff. And then they basically can say, like, hey, I have your browsing history. And then they can get into the world of like sextortion, where it's like, I have pictures of you in compromising positions. So now you need to pay me. And we've seen that happen a lot where children, unfortunately, they attempt to take their lives, and it's so sad, and some of them actually do, and it's a horrible thing to go through.
You were unable to see, but I actually had goosebumps when you said that they are exploiting families' computer. I was actually thinking like how much information is there and how sensitive. Because obviously, if you're a parent, you don't think that because your child, I don't know, installed some random app, everything can be affected, but it can, and that's a problem. Are there specific patterns or language cues you've seen in cybercriminal use to manipulate minors to do things that they shouldn't do? It's something that you can advise parents and educators to look out for.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and it's really hard because the behavior blends in with a lot of just like a lot of other types of behavior that you would see from children who are just chronically online, right? So you have to, or just addicted to internet, and everyone is addicted to internet, let's be honest. So it's a bit of a challenge to really like say this is a definitive marker. But when you start adding a whole bunch of different things together, and then you specifically start to see the language that the children start to use, then you can start to figure out like, okay, so I need to pay attention to this, and I needed to keep a closer eye on this. So one of the things is like, um, is your like who is your child talking to, right? Like I know like children play a lot of video games, so they'll probably have their own like little Discord group, and they'll have their own core team of like players that they like to spend time with and stuff. That is completely fine. But like who like these the people that they're talking to, what are they talking about, right? And it's not something that you can see like now. Like before it was all like written text, but now a lot of this happens over voice chat or video chat. So like listen in and see like what are they talking about. Are they saying like, oh, I've got like leaked data, or I are they talking about malware, or are they talking about like hacking and things like that? So, like, paying attention to what is being discussed is probably something that you want to hear. And also, if your child is being exploited, right? This is something that it depends on, there's two ways it can go. If your child feels comfortable and trusts their parents, then they'll go to them, and then they'll be like, hey, I'm having a problem. Please help me. This is what's happening. And that's the best case scenario. And this is where you should really like foster that connection and foster that empathy, and really try to tell them it's okay, and you will get through it, and you will help them. But there are some children who do not trust their parents, and this is the ones that even if there's really like the parents are great, sometimes children just don't like trust their parents, or are scared of their parents, or are scared of getting in trouble. So what happens is that they become they seclude themselves, they retract themselves from, and they basically try to stay in their rooms more. They try to, and again, this is all behavior that can be a bunch of different things as well, but it's part of like the same like things to keep an eye out on. And it's like pay attention. It's like are they becoming more radicalized? Are they saying like what are their views on, because a lot of these like cybercrime groups are mainly men or boys, and they are like very misogynistic. They are very homophobic. transphobic, and they will say a lot of like and racist things. It's like, is your child like starting to have share similar values like that? And like, what type of memes are they is your child using? Because a lot of these spheres are very, very like fascist and employ a lot of like Nazi symbols. So it's like, are you doing like, is that something that you're seeing a lot more of? Definitely keep an eye out for all of that stuff. And like, just speaking and being part is probably the best way to identify all of this stuff.
Okay, I think in summary, everything that's out of a child's pattern, it's an issue. Because normally, if you have a pattern and you raise your child in a certain way, he will not display these behaviors.
Yes, and but the children change, right? Like one year they're some form of themselves, the next year, the next summer, because it's all based on around a school's like schedule, and children tend to reinvent themselves at different parts throughout the school year, but also especially throughout the summer, where they're free and they can explore and they can experiment with different things, and they have usually like less supervision during the summer. So like this is where they can really develop a lot of these skills and develop a lot of these like new interests. But also like during the school year, this is where they can also like talk to, especially if they know someone in person that is like something they can collaborate with. Like I've seen it where I was working on a case, and this one child basically was working said that they hacked their school. And basically that was like one of the reasons why they came up on our radar was they were saying like, okay, like people at school don't like me. They were very ostracized, and they were saying like one day I'm going to be able to like people are going to respect me. And this is a lot of language that like is part of like the incel community. So you want to basically make sure that they're not getting too radicalized on that stuff.
That actually makes sense. You've used persona infiltration to enter criminal forums and dark web markets. What kind of behavior or linguistic pattern have you observed that indicates target recruitment or grooming of minor for cybersecurity or for cybercrime?
So a lot of it is at the very beginning, a lot of it is flexing. So money, cars, girls. But again, this is a fascination that a lot of like young boys have. And it's a lot of it is like a lot of it is really targeted at this um way of like, here's how you can make money, right? Yeah, this capitalist dream of quick money, easy money, lots of money. The children just don't know that this stuff is not like, it's not real, right? This is a scam, this is fraudulent, or they're gonna get exploited themselves, or they're gonna get recruited into exploiting other people. Like and a lot of the time, like this is a chain effect, right? Because once they get into this environment where they're exploiting people, right, they're going to start recruiting themselves so that they can like make more money, right? So you see this chaining effect of like this cascading effect of like, I got recruited, so I'm going to recruit you, and like, or essentially, it's like saying I got groomed, so I'm going to groom you now, and I'm going to recruit you into doing this. Like we see this in all sorts of different exploitations, but specifically we see this in cybercrime where um, it's really this like let me show you the ropes, and like like the best outcome is that they make a little bit of money and that they don't get caught, but that is like so rare. Like it is most of the time the people that do this do not have the technical capabilities to pulling off any of the scams that are being shown to them, and then they end up getting in trouble with law because they don't have proper operational security, like they didn't cover their tracks well enough, and then like they're just putting their futures into jeopardy. So it's really, really, really like not worth it at all, at all, at all, at all.
Yeah, that's so true. And this is so insightful and powerful at the same time, because I I don't know how many parents do they actually know about these things, and obviously children have no idea. There was a very interesting talk, and I would like to ask you if you can tell me, what can you tell me about Intel broker case or similar cybercrime events like the case situation? How do these real world incidents inform, and how we think about no, one second. How do these real world incidents inform how we think about online recruitment and exploitation of youth?
So the Intel broker case is a very, very interesting one. But at the same time, it is par for the course of like, this is not a new story. It is not unique. This happens all the time. It's just that Intel broker was probably one of the biggest and most prolific and notorious hackers out there, especially in this age gap. So the story of Intel Broker starts off, and he was part of this like online community of swatters, SIM swappers, and leakers where he would play video games and essentially call in bomb threats or swatting. And let me explain what swatting is for those that don't know what it is that you find out and you figure out where someone lives and you essentially call the police and say, "Hey, there's a hostage situation where this person lives. They have a gun. They're barricaded. They like you basically ring five alarms on the person, and then the SWAT comes kicking down the door, and none of that was true." Right. And the poor victim gets like guns pointed at their head, and it's extremely traumatic. And the police like they have to mobilize responses and then none of it was real, so it was a fake alarm, false alarm. So now they've got to figure out like, where did this come from? Do you have enemies? And so it's really a waste of time and resources. But so Intel broker and basically that's how he started off, and it was doing these things. And Intel Broker is lived in the UK, and he was doing this at the age of 17, for example, right? He was really, really
Wow.
young when he started doing this, even probably younger, but like it really starts popping up on the radar around 17. And the NCA, which is the National Crime Agency of the UK, like knew about this, knew about Intel Broker. And his real name, Intel Broker's real name is K West, and essentially saw that K West had a very, very promising future and was a brilliant kid and was like, "Hey, like we're going to give you a chance here. Like we know you're smart and you're just making really bad decisions right now that are going to impact the rest of your life. So what we want to do is we want you to work for the NCA." So they had a program where they basically had him intern at the NCA and try to get his life back on track. And he was there for 2 years, and this allowed the NCA to keep a close eye on him and essentially like being able to put the NCA on your resume as like one of your first positions as an internship. Like this was all meant to benefit Kay in a way that gave him the best possible future and opportunities. And but that's the thing. It's like once you start to get a taste of that notoriety, that taste of that power, sometimes it's too much. And it's like an addiction and it just calls you back into it. And when you get back into it, like you just like it's hard to get out of it. And so even while Kay West was part of the NCA, he was dabbling in cybercriminality as well. And basically, like it got to a point where he dropped out of that program and just started committing 100% to the cybercrime world and started doing a lot of drugs, right? Dissociatives, cocaine, things like that. And this affected his personality and made him very, very, very like it changed him fundamentally as a person. And so like Kay West was not just like some like low end like hacker. He was part of some of the biggest breaches of the past few years. Like he attacked the FBI. He would attack a lot of like he attacked the U.S. Congress. He leaked a bunch of medical records from them. And he did a whole bunch of different like big things. He attacked Europol, and a lot of these were big breaches that would gain a lot of like make the headlines and things like that. So like as someone who was basically thriving off of like that excitement, off of that reputation, that of like the dopamine of like I'm on top of the world, I'm untouchable, that clout chasing, like it was something that like was a never ending chase, especially when you have an addictive personality. And so what happened with this in the end, and this is how like the police were able to catch him, was they basically did a controlled buy. And a controlled buy is when the police basically say we are going to purchase stolen data from someone online, and we're going to basically track the cryptocurrency and everything. And Kay slipped up. He reused one of his personal Bitcoin wallets
Wow.
and essentially exposed himself. And this was a wallet that was being hosted at Coinbase is a very reputable and very like well-known and very large crypto exchange, but it's also one that has your ID on file. So because it follows KYC. KYC means know your clients, and it's one of the good exchanges because it doesn't want to be caught in like money laundering and stuff like that. So they actually keep a record of all of their users. And so when the police figured out that uh, address, that Bitcoin wallet, was being supplied by Coinbase, they were able to subpoena the records for that. And once they had the records, they were able to identify that this is K West, and they already knew who K West was because he was already on their radar for years. And they basically were able to arrest him in Spain at the time, or I believe it was France, but I believe it was Spain. And he was 25 years old. So for almost 8 years, he was essentially like committing crimes, and he is now going to be facing the full extent of the law for all of his crimes. And he ha he was a pretty big player in that field, and since then, a lot of other people have been like cascading like domino effects. Like we've had breach forums get seized. We had basically shiny hunters and stuff like that is on the radar. But a lot of stuff like this is really now like cascading, and law enforcement is taking a real hard stance on it.
I'm not sure if I should envy the guy or if I. For sure, I envy him for his skills, but I would not want to be in his shoes. Like that's a
No,
case of don't do that and try
don't
to
do
use your
that.
skills for good.
It's not
Yes,
worth it. Crime can pay in the short term, right? But it never pays in the long term.
that's true. That's true. Unfortunately for him, I think he will have quite a while to think of what he done.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What platforms or messaging apps are most commonly exploited by cyber criminals to manipulate or recruit young users?
So the recruitment process will happen in the very, very public apps. So like TikTok, Snapchat, and Discord and stuff like that, like the very public, because that's what you will find first, right? Um, and then once the grooming starts, they will try to move them to a other location that is more private. So this is where you'll probably see them talking on Telegram, or you'll probably start to see them talking on like WhatsApp or Signal or any other more like key-based, more like the private messengers, or even like just DMing on forums, like. But also like there's also the what's interesting is the fact that there's some really, really like more obscure messengers. And like if you start to see this stuff on your like your child using stuff like this is definitely a red flag. Like Tox, TOX, right? So that's pretty exclusively used for this type of stuff. And then or like session, right? That's not something that a lot of gamers use. Like this is like uber like privacy oriented, and so like those two I would definitely be like, okay, something's up. Why are you using this? At least it's worth asking questions if you start to see like talks or session on a child's computer.
Just a disclaimer for everyone who listens to the podcast: we are not trying to drag any of the applications down or shame them in any. All of these applications, they are used for good use as well, but they are most commonly found in cybercrime and underworld grooming and everything else like that. Um, are there any emerging vulnerabilities in tech that children regularly use, like probably smart toys or classroom platforms that can be abused for malicious access or influence?
Yeah, so right now, what there a lot of like children are doing is they're using like info stealers. Like that's the big one. And this is info stealer basically attacks the browsers and the operating system on a computer, and specifically Windows, and dumps or sorry, exfiltrates all of the data that's on those browsers. So passwords, cookies, saved passwords in the browser, and browsing history, and starts to take a bunch of screenshots, accesses the webcam, microphone, all of that stuff, and exfiltrates it and sends it to the attacker. And so, info stealers are the biggest things that everyone is using. And because it's a great way to target children, but at the same time, it's so easy that it is part of the tool belt for if they're actually getting recruited to commit crimes. Like, hey, this is really easy. You can just send this to someone, and then you'll have all of their passwords. So it's very appealing. And also, what's more appealing is um, a lot of these like applications, they're packaged in cracks or cheats for games. So what's going to happen is you see, like, for example, Roblox is a big one. And if people or Fortnite, what happens is they'll say like, oh, I want more money because I want to buy the skins, or I want to buy this gun or these cosmetics, um, or these accessories in the games, but I need money. So they'll go on Google and they'll find that, oh, there's this like hack that basically if I run it on my computer, it will basically hack the game and give me infinity money. And so they'll do that, but it's an info stealer, and then they get caught in that crosshair. Um, and a lot of what's really important is like if this is a family computer, and for example, one of the parents or both of the parents work from home, and they have like corporate credentials saved on that computer because they one time they had to log into their work email. Like that is part of the data that is going to be captured by this malware, this virus. And like this puts not only your children at risk, but your company at risk now. And so this is a very big issue, and it is very, very easy to exploit.
Play from my computer so I can see what you're doing. And I just dig my grade in here. Tammy, from your perspective, how digitally aware are children when it comes to hiding risky or illegal behaviors online?
So they're because a lot of this is for clout and for bragging rights and for reputation, they don't really hide it, right? Um, they might hide it from their parents or from other siblings, but generally speaking, if you're looking for this stuff online, because a lot of it is about this approach of recruitment and being part of that community, a lot of it is brazen and just everywhere online. Um, if like if I was a child and I was part of this, I would definitely would hide it from my parents because my parents would be the ones that could restrict access to that world by taking away and confiscating things, like devices or internet access and stuff like that. So I would want to hide it from that like risk, right? But if I would be telling my friends, I would be telling other people. Also, I just sort of like remembered this. If your child has like a device that you're not aware of that comes out of nowhere, right? Like an extra cell phone or an extra tablet, or like these are things that you want to keep an eye out because you might not know exactly what they're doing. Like you might have parental control on one of the devices, but if they were able to get another device from a friend, or they found another or stole another device, like that device might not have any protections on it. And that's what they might be using, right? So just keep an eye out for any like new and uncatalogued devices.
Do you think youth are crafting alternate online identities for purposes beyond fun, such as anonymity in risky digital environment or under peer pressure from online actors?
Yeah, so like the internet now is about creating identities. Like it is like there's very few platforms where you try to be as authentic as possible. Everybody creates a facade and or just amplifies certain aspects of their lives. We do it on LinkedIn, we do it on Instagram, we do it on TikTok. Everyone does this, right? We only show the best or what we want people to see. So children do this as well. And it is just part of how the internet works and how you can have that control, right, of crafting and showing the world what you want people to see. Now, this goes for the threat actors as well, like the bad actors, where they will like the ones that I was alluding to earlier, the ones that are showing off the cars, showing off the money, showing off the drugs, showing off the watches, the jewelry, right, the entourage. Like this is the stuff that is it's marketing. It's targeted, right? It's like this is what's going to get people to reach out to me or be part of my movement or be part of my gang. Like I'm showing off and people want to be me, right? Um, and so that is very much part of their playbook. It's crafting these fake personas because a lot of the time when you see these threat actors and these bad actors talking online, right? They'll say like the wildest stuff. And when they get arrested, because it's only a matter of time, when they get arrested, like that is not their lives. You see where they're living. They're living in their parents' house, or they're living in like a small apartment on the outskirts of the city, and they barely have enough money, right? Um, or sometimes if they are successful, like they'll have the money and they'll have like the stuff, but that's so far few in between. It is I can count on one hand how many people that happens to, right? And it's not worth pursuing.
Thank you. From your perspective as an investigator, how do you differentiate between normal teenage curiosity and signs of possible involvement in cybercrime or contact with malicious actors?
So, yeah, so I can give you a little bit of like a backstory on me. So, for example,
Okay.
like I've always been fascinated by like the hacking world, right? Like as a young age, like I was looking up like trying to get my hands on the Anarchist Cookbook. I was trying to get like
Wow.
learn about like freaking, right? This probably gives myself an age, but uh
Okay.
I was trying to figure out like how to get like basic stuff. Like there was like this website called back in the day. It's still around, but it was like a very early version of like try hack me or hack the box. It was called Hack This Site. And so it allowed you to like figure out training and like start hacking. And it for me, this was a way of problem solving. What really attracted to me was not the lifestyle that the influencers were purporting. For me, it was more of an analytical challenge of this is a problem, this is a puzzle, and I want to crack it. I want to solve it. So I was going into these like this underground world and talking to people with the motive of learning how to become a better problem solver. And the ideologies that a lot of these individuals had, like because back then it was very much like anti-government, anti like anarchists. Um, it was not about making money. It was not about the influencer like aspect of it, of drugs, money, and girls, right? Or in cars and jewelry and stuff like that, and crypto. None of that was. It was very much, I have a manifesto and I hate the government and I hate war and like this is how we hack, right? It was very much the original term of what hack means is making something do that it's making something do something that it's not supposed to do. Like so
More like a free speech, like without censorship uh, language. I
yeah,
think that's easier. Yeah. Okay.
exactly. And so that was the whole world. And when I was looking into it, and I was growing up in that world, um I was there was definitely like times where I was exposed to more radical ideas and but I had a very strong support network around me where I didn't fall for the gaslighting or I didn't fall for the false and fake lies and promises that a lot of these like other groups were telling me, right? And like as a woman online, you got to be careful because like they want to, you'll have to send you some pictures or they want to like manipulate you and things like that. So you have to be careful. And I was always trying to like try to stay as technical as possible. Now, fast forward to today, like penetration testing is a legitimate ethical job that you can do and it pays well and I encourage more and more children and people to learn about this stuff because it's a growing field and you can it's a great career. Now but this is the thing, it's like this is ethical hacking, right? And it's purely a technical skill set that you learn. Now, if your morals and your ethics get corrupted along the way, and then you start doing it for the wrong purposes, that's when things like you need to watch out for. So, like, if your child, now that I've said all of this, if your child is like, hey, I really like hacking, not it's the immediate answer shouldn't be like that's terrible. It's like what fascinates you about hacking? Is it the lifestyle? Is it the energy? Is it the fear that other people like are they scared of you? Is it like the aura that you're looking out for? Or is it are you trying to like break a technical system? Because those are two very different mindsets. And I would foster 100% the mentality of a child who says, I want to problem solve and I love puzzles and I want to like crack a system and it just happens to be a computer, that is 100% something I would look into. But because it's like it ties to programming, it ties to a bunch of new things. But if they're like, no, I just want to get rich, that's the warning flag that you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And that's something um that's something that you like. I think that's how I would answer that question.
Thank you. What tools, basic or advanced, can school or parents start using to monitor and intercept these early red flags?
So yeah, now we're getting into the question of like parental controls and like what the role of a parent is going to look like in this, or even a guardian or any adult really. Um, when I was growing up, I didn't really have like the internet was a completely different place. Granted, it was a very, very different place and nowhere near as dangerous as it is today. Like there was always the the stories of like watch out for the creepers in the chat rooms, right? And stuff like that. That's always been there, but like it was never as bad as it is today. And like the bad actors never had so much access to you, right? Through different social media platforms or through different things. So it's like now it's a lot more dangerous. And I think the only real defense against that is a multi-level approach to it. So familiarize yourself with your children's applications and if they offer any type of parental controls. Now, parental controls can look in various different formats, but usually what it will look like is restricting like access to content similar to what YouTube does, but also like time of day that the app can be used and stuff like that, like at an application level. But this is not enough because like if I want to access YouTube, for example, and I'm using like the app and you've implemented like parental controls in the app, what's stopping me from just spinning up like a browser and then accessing YouTube, right? So there's always going to be like another way of accessing stuff. So this is why I say multi-level, because this is where you would look at your operating systems or your device's parental control settings. So, for example, like iOS has parental control, Android has parental controls, and so you can limit like the type of content that is being viewed at a device level. So that's what you would do there. But again, that's not enough because like the if I have a different type of device, right? Like that other device that I was alluding to that my friend lent to me or I found or I stole, and I know I can't access like YouTube or the apps that I want or TikTok, for example, on that device, I'll just get another device. So the last line of defense is the Wi-Fi or the home internet. And most routers or like home networks offer rudimentary and basic like parental controls. There's ways to augment this and to make this better. And usually this is something that's you look at, like, for example, at the DNS level. So um, the DNS level, what will happen is you can basically, this is like content filtering. So you can like stop adult content, you can stop like video streaming, social media, gaming, stuff like that. That's all done at like it can effectively be done to some extent at the DNS level. And so there's free services out there, like OpenDNS, for example, offers like a parental control type of DNS service where it's free and you can basically just, instead of using your ISP's default DNS, you can put in OpenDNS's parental control DNS, and that will essentially like default to that and it will stop a whole bunch of stuff. So this is going nuclear because if you have all three protections, like it makes it for a restricted internet, especially even for you. But as the parent, what you can do is you can start using VPNs, and that will just blow right through everything, at least at the network level. Um, but this is also where you start to look at like what your child is using. Like, is your child starting to use VPNs to get around parental controls? Now, like VPNs are so pervasive and they're everywhere nowadays that um, you can a lot of it is like, for example, I would use it to if I want to stream something from a different country. Like everyone does that, sort of a legitimate reason for a child to use that. But at the same time, it's like, are they using more sophisticated tools to evade these types of controls? Are they using Tor? Are they using like more encrypted means? So this is the type of stuff that you want to like pay more close attention to.
Thank you. What advice would you give a teenager who suspects someone online is encouraging them to take part in something illegal or unethical?
So this is where you have to have a good conversation with your child and have this open dialogue with them. And because if they don't feel like you would understand, or if they would get in more trouble by talking to you, they won't reach out to you. And a lot of the times, what they'll do is they'll reach out to the wrong people for help, which is only going to exasperate the issue. They're going to reach out to people that they think are friends when they're also part of the grooming experience. Um, or they might reach out to friends, like legitimate friends, but they're just inexperienced and they'll give them the wrong advice. So being there, being part of your child's life, and having this open dialogue of trust and reciprocity and empathy is where you're going to be able to say, "Hey, like I'm talking to these people online, and there's they're saying some weird stuff, right? And this is the opening, this is the invitation to discuss things." And usually, if a child comes up to you and says something like that, it's because something has already happened, right? Or is about to happen. So listen and be there for them. And it's really about like letting them talk and giving them space to talk.
I have a question for you. Feel free not to answer if you're uncomfortable with it, but not from a parent. So the answer will be for the parent, but not from a parent perspective, but from an investigator perspective. How early is early to talk about these things?
So I think there's no real age. I think it's because like children will be exposed to the internet extremely young, especially since a lot of parents nowadays use like the iPad or the phone as a babysitter. So like this so and so growing up,
Mm-hmm.
we like my generation, I'm a millennial, and my generation like we got access to like we were using command prompts, we were like I was installing like Linux distros and things like that. Like my generation was extremely hands-on with technology because it was rudimentary, it was growing, we grew up with it. But the later generations, like the Gen Alphas, the Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas now, and betas, and all the other generations that are come after, like their experience of technology is very compartmentalized and very simplified. And the fact that they're using technology every day, every hour, doesn't necessarily translate anymore to being proficient in technology or into that, like, like before, like we all know this, it's like we grew up and we were like, well, like I had to like fix my printers, I can probably fix your printer. But like this type of knowledge doesn't exist really anymore, specifically for the younger generations, because everything is app-based now. And the devices are closed now. Like when we grew up, we were able to pop out our batteries from our devices and sort of like refurbish stuff ourselves and repair stuff ourselves, especially at a computer. But now, like, look at all the iMacs, look at all the Macs, all the iPhones, and all the devices now. everything's closed off. Like people are not tinkering as much anymore with technology. So essentially, like you want to bring this dialogue, right, with your children early because you can't, essentially, what I'm saying is you can't hope that because they're exposed to it so young that they'll know what to do. You have to bring that conversation in yourself and you have to tell them, hey, this is like, you need to be careful. This is how it really is. And I'm here for you. And yeah, this is how it works.
Like talking about the stranger in a van across the street, it's pretty much similar in here, except you never leave your room. um, you regularly navigate dark digital spaces as part of your job. How do you stay grounded and maintain ethical integrity in such challenging environment?
That's a great question. So, in very most simplest forms, I don't want to go to jail. No, but in
Yeah,
reality,
I keep
in
telling them the same thing. They don't believe me. I like my freedom.
yeah, exactly. I love my freedoms. I love my life. I love my job. I love my friends, my family. Like, I do not want to put any of that in jeopardy, right? I have no desire to jeopardize anything like that. And like like that's what I was saying. Like it's important to have a good support network, right? I don't like I have everything that I want and I have everything that I need and I have enough so that there is no reason for me to go outside of the bonds of the legal system to get more, right? And so I want to basically just be and do what I do. I also like what I do because it allows me to actually do like change people's lives and have an impact. My research is specific, especially in the ransomware world, is used all around the world. Like people are, I have as part of the Ransomlook team, um, like my research in collaboration with other researchers and volunteers is widely used and depended on like by governments, by law enforcement. So that gives me a lot of like that satisfies my itch of like of accomplishments, right? And because it's benevolent and I try to give back as much to the community as possible. And for me, that's enough. And that makes me happy. But also like that, simply as simple put, I like my freedoms.
That's so nice. What gives you hope when it comes to pushing back against youth focused cybercrime and exploitation?
Um, the generations are smart. Like each generation is is getting more um knowledgeable about like social media, right? Like we grew up with like social media was introduced when in our lifetime and we sort of like had a life and a world before it. So we were able to bring in sort of an understanding of like this is new, right? And it's not always been here, but for a lot of these kids, it's always been there. And you can tell like start like really like talking to children and you're like I'm older than Google. Right. And that is like for a lot of people, that is like, whoa, like that is there was a world before Google, right? Like I'm older than like than a lot of things. And it's like um or I'm just as old as the internet, right? Like that is wild to think, right? So for some people that's true. So um yeah, it's really fascinating how all of that can work.
If listener could take one concrete action today to help protect children online, what would you recommend?
It's definitely like using some form of parental control, right? Using even if it's just the most basic one, even if it's just at the app level or at the device level or at the network level, like using at least one version and but also like keeping tabs and talking to your child. Like I think it nothing beats that, right? And fostering that trust, fostering that care, fostering that empathy. Now, of course, children are never going to always tell you everything. Like, I know that, right? But at least you have that open dialogue. It's there, right? At least that's there. And because so many times it's like I can't, like children say, like, I can't talk to my parents about this stuff. Like that's like you're already so far back and you're already at a disadvantage if just by like, being in that position. So like at least being in a position where they can come talk to you is you're already way ahead of the curve. And then the rest is just keeping education going, like dialogue going, and or if something happens and you see something on the news, you can ask your child, what do you think of this, right? um what do you think of this, right? Like, and then see what they have to say, right? But also check in with your children's values, right? Because now the internet has radicalized so many children. Like, what do they think of women? What do they think of friends and family? Like, what do they think of like that family down the street type of thing, right? Like, check in and see their values because sometimes the radicalization will show you that they have started to interact with different things online, and you'll be like, okay, this is interesting. This is really, really interesting, right? And you need to pay attention to that.
I would like to thank you so much for being here today and for sharing a bit of what you're doing. Your work reminds us how vital vigilance, education, and smart intervention are in today's digital world. Thank you so much for being here, Tammy.
My pleasure. This is great. Thank you so much.
To all our listeners, if you found value in today's episode, check the show notes for resources and further reading. If you haven't, subscribe to the Blue Dwarf and join us again soon. Stay safe and stay informed. Bye bye.